Okay, my friends, so we've got this set up at 21 yards. That's the distance that they compete at in those competitions in Spain and those official competitions. So it's 21 yards or 18 meters. Actually, they only shoot 3 arrows. Okay, so that's the same kind of thing. We'll just do that for a little while. You know, Mark was asking about berserkers. I'll tell you about the man that Egil killed. Egil was a Viking. He raided people's farms, stole their property. He also was a mercenary. He fought a lot in England, made a lot of money. Anyhow, he was traveling along in the Baltic, and he stopped into a friend's sister's farm, and he stayed there for a few days. The weather was bad, and took their hospitality. And just before he was going to leave, after about 3 or 4 days, they told him a story that there was a berserker, a man who was a warrior, and what he would do is go around and he'd pick a fight with somebody, call them out, and they would arrange a fight, a home gang, and he would kill the man and take his property, his women, his property, his cattle, because that's the way the Viking rule was. If you could kill a man, you took his stuff. It's very much the same as the Russians. You know, the Russians, a lot of the Russians are Vikings, and they have Russian roulette. You know, if the guy blows his brains out, you take everything he's got. It's just the way it was. Anyhow, they told Egil this story about how this guy had picked a fight with this woman's son, who was a young man, but you know, a young man, not a heavy trained warrior. And so they told him the story. Now the next day was to be the home game. So they all met and they staked out an area. And the berserker was saying, "Who are you speaking for this boy? He means nothing to me to kill, but to kill a real man would just boost me up in popularity." So Egil said, "Well, okay, let's see." So Egil took the place of the young man that had been challenged. And the fight started, and it went on for a while. They broke up their shields. So in a home game, you can stop and say, "I want a new shield." So the berserker stopped, got a new shield. Egil said, "You're afraid." He ran outside the ring. The fighting continued, blow for blow, until Egil struck off his leg, and his leg fell on the ground. And Egil said, "No point in looking. Your leg is gone." The man fell over dead. Egil's friend's sister kept her farm. The young man kept his life. And this bully, this tyrant, this berserker was dead. And Egil said, "It was a pleasure." That's a story from the Viking times. And when you get lucky, you get some hits on your animal, and the family will eat tonight. Have fun, boys. Back in a minute. Well, guys, seeing that I know the distance, 21 yards, I can shoot gap because I know the distance. So if I look at that target, the arrow should be just a little under his belly. King Harald Fairhair, he made a law that you couldn't go around and challenge people and have a duel, a Holmgaard like that. Harald Fairhair didn't like Vikings at all. Okay, there's our next three at the Olympics. Yeah. All Northmen were not really Vikings in the sense of being bay boys that went down the bay and broke into people's farms and stole things, raided. Harald Fairhair actually had sent his ships. So, you can't tell one Viking from another, but he sent his ships out and they searched around the Shetland Islands one year. And every time they came across a place where they had set up a camp, Vikings, raiders, privateers. This is the thing, privateers. The Sea Kings wanted to control their area. They did not want libertarians just going around raiding different places. The Sea Kings wanted the money. So it was sort of like gang warfare in a sense. Anyhow, King Harald sent his ships around to all the bays in the Shetlands, and every time they came across an encampment, they attacked it and killed everybody. So the Vikings left the Shetlands and moved over into Scotland. That's the story. Just depends on which side of the bay you were born on, boy. Anyhow, and you get a few hits. Okay, back in a minute. Okay, guys. Something I notice. If you shoot one arrow, looks really good. If you shoot three, they look like they're all over the place. They're all in the kill zone. It's funny. Shaky and fakey. lucky once in a while or what? Okay, so I just heard a little bump over there just a minute or two ago, a thud. And I thought, what's that? And about half an hour ago, I heard a thud in the woods down there. And I thought, what's that? Now, let me tell you about spirituality and elves and dwarfs and giants, ogres under the bridge. We're born with a lot of natural fear, and take any one of us, you put them out in the middle of the woods, like this place right here, in the middle of the night, by themselves, and the trees will crack. A pine cone will fall, thud. The trees will brush together, click. The little animal will scurry along. The next thing you know, you're going, God save me. It's true. When we're put face to face with nature, it's awesome. And if we have any fear in ourselves, being human, once we start to run, we don't stop. Always give your enemies a way out. They'll usually take it. Yeah, it's true. Anyhow, that's where this idea of little spirits in the ground, little elves, guys under the leaves, the little people, all this magic comes out of our own imagination, and it's great. I love fairy tales and folklore. The billy goat's gruff. Oh yeah, and that ogre. Well, you know about him. Anyhow, we're here to have a little bit of fun. But there's another of our attempts at greatness. Okay. Back in a minute. Okay, guys. Now this bow, 9,000-year-old design. I mean, really, when you think about it, 9,000 years. I'm just going to stop right there, you know? If you shoot one shot, it looks really good. If you shoot three, it looks like they're all over the place. It's, anyhow, that'll be good because we're just here having fun. And it's fun showing off. The Oseberg ship, that's the ship, burial ship, the famous one where that queen was buried with her little servant girl. And she had weapons and cooking pots and things like that. But she also had a bag of cannabis seeds. That's right. Vikings had cannabis. Now they call this queen a sorceress, and you know, it's always tried to be made out to be like voodoo magic, you know. But anyhow, she was a queen. She was a rich person. And in those days, you know, a queen wasn't like the Queen of England and India and Canada, you know, any more than a king was a large king that owned lots and lots of countries by today's standards. They were often just tribal leaders, uh, small, you know, maybe they would have land 50 miles by 50 miles or something like that, whatever they could defend with their gang. Anyhow, uh, the Oseberg boat, that woman, that queen, that warrior queen, had cannabis. That's the point. And also, shooting one arrow always looks better than shooting three. Though I really know that the best way never to miss a shot is called editing. I'll be back in a little while. Well, guys, you know, I've been down in the city all winter. This is a treat. I can see why our ancestors were often spiritual people. It's kind of magic here. Every little thing is unique. Yeah, it's kind of like magic. Today, I'm putting that tip of that arrow just slightly on the right, pushing it on, and just bringing it back until I get back about 7/8 of the way, and letting the pressure in the string just bring my hand in onto my jaw at that magic spot, relaxing that arm. That's it. Push, pull, relax. And when you do that, and you're out enjoying Mother Nature, you'll get some hits. Back in a minute. Well, my friends, it's sure good to be out here and enjoying a snack. Cheese. Cheese was always popular with the Northmen, but they didn't get nice big green grapes from Chile. But cheese was preservable. Food was a hard thing to come by 1,000 years ago. One of the things to do was to smoke meat, to smoke fish, just like smoked kippers. But any kind of smoke is not really that good for you. So it can cause more stomach cancers. Not that we were aware of that exactly, but we knew something was killing us. And what we couldn't smoke, we would salt. Everybody had high blood pressure. Salt slows down the rotting. Therefore, your intestines, which is a form of rotting food, dissolving up. It makes it harder for your body to dissolve your food, so salted fish, salted meat, not so good for you. You've really got to soak it a lot first. Yeah, food's a lot better now. We get food anytime we want it. A 1,000 years ago, food was seasonal quite often. You know, you'd have to slice apples really fine and let them dry. Try to dry any kind of fruit that you could find, berries, grapes, raisins. But that's the kind of food that we ate. A lot of people had intestinal worms. Flies would lay their eggs on the food. We're doing pretty good these days. Soup strainer. Anyhow, a little snack. Now let's get back to taking a whack. Okay, back in a minute. Well, my friends, let's take a couple more shots here. Every Viking, every successful Viking needs a hoard. Every successful Viking hides a hoard. I have a hoard. Want me to tell you where my hoard is? That will do. I'll tell you where my hoard is. But you know, then I'll have to kill you. As Vikings, we're real comedians. Isn't that sweet? Isn't that neat? I'll
talk to you later.